Hey everyone, I'm Nico from Licks of the Beast, and today I'm gonna show you how to play the very awesome Twilight Zone by Iron Maiden. This is the third video of this series aimed at beginner and early intermediate guitar players. And as always, I'm also trying to make this interesting and informative for anyone who might not necessarily play guitar, but has an interest in how the main guitar parts of Iron Maiden songs are played and arranged. Twilight Zone was written by Dave Murray and Steve Harris, and it was originally released in 1981 as a double single along with Wrathchild. However, it was on the North American version of the Killers album. And in fact, I always knew it to be a song from Killers, second song on side 2 between Killers and Prodigal Son. Album track or B-side, double A-side, whatever, Twilight Zone is a great song and it's so much fun to play. I always loved playing along with the album back in the day, and I still enjoy it a whole lot now. And I picked this song because it's simple and straightforward enough to be approachable, but still challenging and interesting, both from a technical and compositional standpoint. So with that in mind, grab a guitar and let's get started. This song is played with a shuffle feel, and if you're not familiar with this rhythmic feel, I'll give you a quick and easy explanation. So normally a beat has 2 eighth notes of equal length, so 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. With a shuffle, the first of each pair of eighth notes, the downbeat, is a little bit longer than the second, or the upbeat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. This is very common in blues music, and in jazz as well, but it's not standard in heavy metal. Although some more blues-based hard rock bands do sometimes use this feel. For example, The Boys Are Back in Town by Thin Lizzy. So the intro riff is in A Dorian. And Dorian is like a natural minor scale, or Aeolian, but with a major sixth, so it's a little brighter. The main riff goes like this. So here it is, slowly. So the trill here is played by picking the F sharp note, hammering on to the G, pulling off to the F sharp, and then hammering on again to the G, and so on. And the way to get this to sound smooth and even is not to think of it as a fast sequence of notes, but as one note with an embellishment. So imagine it were kind of like this. If you try playing this as a fast sequence of notes, you will inevitably tense up and the trill will sound more like an annoying mosquito buzz. Especially because the added pressure you'll put from tensing your hand will cause the string to bend a bit and the notes will be slightly sharp. And that's not what we're going for here. You want to keep this nice and relaxed. This is a Dave Murray riff after all, so visualize Dave's relaxed hand movements when you're working on this. The next part is a variation of the riff with a harmony. And I love this as a compositional technique because it's a simple way to keep things interesting without it feeling like there are too many parts in a relatively short song like this. Dave plays it something like this. So here it is slowly. And Adrian plays it like this. And now slowly. And you'll notice Adrian has an extra note in there, so it's just slightly different. You don't really hear it, but you do feel it, and it adds a certain texture. The verse is yet another variation of the main riff. This time we're playing dyads, or two-note chords, against the A pedal. It goes something like this. So here it is slowly. And again, you have that trill, only it's on the G string this time. That takes us to the chorus. Now this is a nice change in feel, and it really opens up to this big catchy chorus, especially with a stretched out vocal melody. And it goes something like this. Both guitars are playing the exact same thing, except for the tail, which is harmonized in thirds. So I'll show you the whole thing slowly as Dave's part, and then we'll just look at Adrian's harmony on the tail. So it goes like this. And here is Adrian's harmony. After the first chorus, we go into the interlude, which is a simple but very effective harmonized guitar part. I recently read a really cool interview Adrian did with Eon Music, where they asked him about Twilight Zone, and he said he wrote the entire harmony part himself in the studio. And now that I listen back to it, it's so obviously an Adrian part. So let me play you both parts back to back, starting with Dave's. And here is Adrian's part. So this is one of those harmonies where both parts together create a melody that feels somewhat different from how the individual parts sound by themselves. And one of the reasons for this is that they keep switching back and forth between the low and high harmony. And that is some really cool stuff by Adrian. So let's look at the parts again slowly, starting once again with Dave. And here is Adrian's part slowly. This is a great part for you to study the use of vibrato, because you can't apply it all the way through or it'll sound like an out-of-tune mess. And I've seen guitar players overdo it like that, trying to be more intense, and it is a normal phase for most of us. I did it too. But ideally, you want to aim for a tasteful application of vibrato. So start by only applying it to the notes where you kind of pause for a little bit. And make sure you're applying pressure from the wrist, not from the fingers. And try to keep a steady, even rhythm so that it feels smooth throughout. From there, the song starts again from the intro riff, but to give it an even stronger sense of forward momentum after that melodic interlude, they end with this little fill. So the whole part now sounds like this. Let's look at that fill slowly. It's harmonized in parallel fourths, so I'll show you both parts, starting with Dave's. And this is Adrian's. Next is the harmonized riff, the verse riff, the chorus riff, and then we end with the tail of the interlude. So that's Twilight Zone. It's a pretty simple song, but it's fast, so it'll get you working on your speed and fluidity. And it's a great way to get you started with things like a shuffle feel, trills, fast pedal point riffs, different picking patterns, and vibrato. I hope this was easy enough to follow along, and that it also provided some interesting insights into this really cool song. Let me know your thoughts and questions in the comments. Don't forget to leave a like, and do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more licks of the beast.